On Thursday the 9th of May 2024, we were finally blessed with the Veritus demo, and since it's been 2 weeks since then, I figured now would be a good time for me to go through it and see all the bits of lore that we can infer and imply and interest ourselves with. I was going to say ingest for some reason then. And this time I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm doing this completely unscripted, so if this goes terribly, that's why, but I'm basically just going to go through the demo and talk about things in order, mostly, hopefully. So, first things first, we talk to Enither, although, no, Enither talks to us. Although she's not actually talking to us, she's talking to Veritus. I think she's talking to Veritus. She's probably talking to Veritus because she's saying brother, and I know it says question marks, but if we go up here and have this, even in the shroud, can you feel it? Let's go up here. It's breaking free, we must press on. I don't know what that could be talking about. And it's Enither, so presumably Enither was talking all those other times. That was her talking the whole time, presumably to Veritus, because, you know, even in Prodigal she does that where she talks directly to Veritus and just ignores Oren, which is pretty funny. But I found what she says quite interesting, like even in the shroud, can you feel it? Which I think personally is referring to the fact that Veritus is split up, right? Like, his consciousness is there, like the pieces of Veritus have wills of their own, but they're not whole. So it's like his consciousness isn't fully formed at the moment. So maybe that's what in the shroud is referring to. Or maybe it means like the castle itself is shrouded and protecting like one of his pieces. Because we know from stuff we can read in Prodigal that apparently like the whole world, the whole planet was once shrouded. So maybe like after he got split up, that shroud kind of like shrunk to just be around his castle. The cat just fucking jumped right in front of my face. So maybe that's what it means, but personally I think maybe it's the consciousness thing, because, you know, Enither herself, like in Prodigal, she describes herself as being scattered, you know, because light can be scattered, it can be displaced, and so when she was, like, defeated, she was scattered because she's the god of light, and it took time for her to sort of reform and sort of become fully conscious again, like get out of that sort of fog. But then there's the whole it's breaking free, and honestly, I don't really understand what that could be about, because, right, we know that Enither is kind of on Veritus' side now. The cat's back, hello. We know that she eventually sort of relented and was like, okay, fine, I will help you, just promise me you won't fuck it up, or something like that. So now there's this, like, presumably common enemy they have. It's breaking free, or, like, something that... Maybe it's Nixian. It could be Nixian, but then again, there was the whole thing in Prodigal where, no, Nixian is already back. He's just, like, kind of in hiding or regaining his power. On the other hand, it could be, like, that Nixian, like Veritus, was split up, and it's, like, a piece of Nixian, like his core or whatever. Maybe that's what's in Veritus' castle, actually. Maybe it's, like, the core of Nixian or something like that. And like Enither slowly regained her power, maybe Nixian is doing the same thing, and it's like, okay, we need to deal with this. But then again, things in Colorgrave's games are never that straightforward, you know. There was this whole thing about how Veritus was shielding the planet, and it turns out, uh-oh, now Rayam can see us, and she's gonna come and kill us all. So maybe Nixian is sort of along the same lines. Maybe like Nixian is he's just a misunderstood baby. Nixian did nothing wrong. Mimbron, the troll line that Mimbron always says is Nixian did nothing wrong, and maybe he was lying to us by telling us the truth, just like Captain Jack Sparrow. Remember that? Remember that movie? But this is why I need scripts, dude. So that's that. You know, we've not even actually fully properly started the demo yet, and already I've been rambling, and there's all sorts of theories that could possibly be happening, like why is Enither invested in this mission in particular? Or why is she projecting herself into Oren's mind to speak to Veritus, which I think is what's happening here, because I'll talk about that in a minute, because we're going to get into like where the demo actually takes place, which I have a theory on. But before we get to that, let's talk about this final line here. Those that seek shadow will find it. So, okay, so Oren's going to find another piece of Veritus, probably. So too those who seek light. Now, you might think that's talking about herself, but don't forget we have Lacrima, who is a Revante, who are Rayam's chosen people. Like, they're the people that she was like, she came to Lyrian and was like, damn, those guys look the coolest. Like, they've got this whole vampire aesthetic going on, I'm going with them. So she's got good taste, is what all I can say about her there. But those are her chosen people, and she is like a follower of Rayam. Hooray, the cat's moving. Thank you. Don't rub yourself against the microphone. It's gonna sound awful. No, don't do that. And so like maybe she's gonna somehow, I don't know, summon Rayam. She's gonna like turn out to be a traitor or something and be like, I was actually coming to kill Veritus the entire time. I wanted to gather all these pieces so that I could reform him, so that I could destroy him forever. Or something like that, or so that Rayam could destroy him forever. Presume, like, because gods it seems like gods can't die, but maybe they can if they're killed by another god or killed in a certain way. We don't really know, but maybe that's the Lacrima's whole thing is. She's like, I'm gonna be a traitor, and she's seeking light, and that's Rayam. So it could be. But now we swoosh into the main actual game, and wow, look at this! It's the boneyard. That's cool, right? And we have this, which is not what the statues used to look like. Now they're kind of mirrors, which is kind of cool. And we have our first puzzle. Wowie zowie. Just pop that down there. Beautiful. And now we have this little thing here, and I'm just going to go back into this room so we don't have to listen to that constantly. The thing that pops up that says Memoria, which is, you know, like the things in Prodigal, it's like, this is where you are. So we're in a place called Memoria, but it's clearly the Boneyard, and also we see tidal mines a little bit later on. So obviously this is Auron's memories. More specifically, I personally think this is like a dream that Auron's having, because it has a lot of dreamlike aspects to it, like, you know, it's got the Boneyard, it's got places that are familiar to him, but they're kind of wrong. Like, they aren't exactly the same, and details are different, and there's random people that are there who weren't there in the original memory. They're just there because he's thinking about them or whatever, and some of those people happen to be Zagel, who he's traveling with, and his child, who obviously didn't exist yet when he first went to these places. And we'll get to those, especially Minor, in a few minutes, but there's also this monument thing, which is presumably somewhere in the north because of all the snow, and he's just thinking about it because he just saw his child in the previous room, and then he starts thinking about his parents. I don't know. Maybe that's just a space filler, and it's just like to be a transitional thing, and it was like, hey, let's put something here to allude to like guides and stuff, like, hey, don't forget your roots and where you came from, or something like that. I don't really know. There could be more meaning to this. There could not be. But also, importantly, this is where Zagel gives you the letter from Crocodile, which we learned about via Zagel's tweets quite a while ago. And so this dream that I think is happening is presumably happening maybe like before they set off on this journey, or maybe during the journey, like maybe it's the last night before they enter the castle, like they're camping outside the castle and like, okay, in the morning we go in, or something like that, and he's having this like anticipatory not nightmare, but this sort of anxious dream about everything he's been through up to this point. And so that's what I was talking about before when I said that I think Enether is like projecting herself into Auron's mind. Like, I don't think she actually came along with them, because obviously they're gods, right? But I don't think they're omnipresent. I think that they still are restricted to their physical bodies. I mean, we've seen Armadale like teleport or whatever, so I don't know, maybe she did just sort of come along. But again, this is like in his memories or in his dreams. So she's presumably like just projecting herself in there to talk to Veritus. But who knows? Actually, the Memoria thing, with it being memories, maybe it is some sort of trap that they activated when they entered the castle, or when they entered the vicinity of the castle or whatever. It sort of like traps you within your own mind in like a forced dream or whatever, and he has to like fight his way out. Because, and obviously the demo is not necessarily going to be one-to-one with how the actual intro of the game works, but if this demo is also going to be similar or the same as the intro to the full game, then maybe when you get the divine power from Enether at the end, that's the power that he uses to wake himself up and snap himself out of it. So maybe it is some sort of like trap or something, and not just a random dream that he's having, that we get to sort of introduce the game in media res. So as you can see, these puzzles are like similar to the ones that we had in Prodigal, but they're not the same. The rooms are not the same. Watch this, speedrun strats. But so this is why I kind of get this dreamlike feel. That was genuinely a mistake. I did not mean to do that. And there's no secret room just to the left there. It's in a different place now. In fact, I can show you where it is. It's right here. Oh my god, I genuinely didn't mean to do that. Anyway, the secret room is here now, and we have this guy, Cool King Tom. Now, this guy is definitely not actually canon. I mean, it would be incredible if he was, but basically this guy came from a joke from back when Prodigal was being developed originally. Minbron made a joke like, hey, I want to design a character as well, so he made this drawing of a guy, and he called him Cool King Tom, and they just sort of used him as the fourth wall breaking character in the demo, which is, I think, it's cool, for lack of a better term. It's very cool. And now we have Minor, but first, let's kill some monsters. Oh fuck, why am I suddenly so bad? Bones! And now, we have Minor. Which is, it's really great to see people's first reactions to this who have played Prodigal but don't really know anything about the deeper lore, so they're like, oh, who's this kid? What the hell? Why is she here? It's like, wow, one day I hope I can stand up to monsters too. I want to be just like you, Dad. And they're all like, Dad, what the hell? But yeah, that's Mina. We learned about her in Curse Crackers, and now we have confirmation that, yeah, she is indeed Oren's child, and I mean, look at her. It's probably Keaton who's the mother. Like, look at her. And this is the room I was talking about before. Again, like I say, I'll probably edit the footage to show it while I'm talking about it instead of it just being on that one screen. But here is the monument for all guides who don't make it back. And as I say, this is a very snowy area, which makes you think that it's most likely somewhere in the north, and also it's talking about guides, which are people who help you go through the frontier, which again is in the north, so it would make sense that this is somewhere in the north. Maybe it's somewhere just outside of Vance Point, like on the border to the frontier itself or something. But then again, since Oren is dreaming about it, it's presumably somewhere he's been himself. Although, again, it's been, I think it's been 15 years since Prodigal here, so, like, it would make sense that he's been other places since the game. Dear Oren, I do pray this letter finds its way to you safe and sealed. You need to come to Phanisa immediately. It will make sense when you arrive. I don't know, is that my crocodile voice? I guess it is. So yeah, this is the letter that Zagel was talking about in his tweets quite a while ago that I covered in another video, where he's like, I have a letter for Oren, and I'm going to take it to him. I'm not going to open it because I'm honest merchant, would never tell lie, then wouldn't be honest. And now we finally actually get to read the letter, which is cool. It's nice that was paid off. And now we go up through here, and we see. Actually, I should show this for people who, for some reason, are watching this without having played the demo themselves. Look, there's all these cool hands here, which, in case you didn't know, actually, upon reloading of the room, are different every time. They're different every time you reload the room. You see that? Look, like this first one here, it's sort of pointing towards the bottom right, and if I reload the room, oh, now it's pointing towards the bottom left. It's crazy. Each hand reloads completely in a different orientation every time you reload the room, which is a cool detail that I think most people won't have noticed. And now we enter the tidal mines, which this time is completely different from how it was in what's the game called? Prodagonal? Yeah, that's it. Oh, speaking of the way people mispronounce the game name all the time. Oh, Beast Meat. Look, it's finally real. Finally, bro diagonal. There we have it at last. And let's go through here and get this key while I'm just rambling. It's pretty much completely different layout. I mean, they did have like a big room like this in the... Oops, I just threw that on top of myself. That was clever. Ready, watch this. Whoop. They did have a big room like this in the original Tidal Mines, and the place to get the lariat was in the bottom left corner. Do you think if I ran do you think if I ran I could do you think if I ran I could get... Now we have the lariats, and interesting change to the lariats. Now all barrels pull you to them. There's not, well, as far as I've seen, there aren't any metal barrels. It's just all wooden barrels, and you pull yourself to them. So maybe the ones in Prodigal were empty, and these ones are full of, like, maybe they're all full of wine or something. You think someone who lives for thousands of years would get into something like wine? Like, you know, you'd have like 1,000-year-old wine. It's like, yes, this pairs well with the... I can't think of anything funny to say now. This is why I need scripts. I'm not funny without a script. Help me. And Mina's drawing, which is an interesting thing to look at, by the way. The drawing of us all Mina gave me before I left. Even the hands there. Huh. Yes, she likes you. This is a scary thing. This is weird that she's like including the hand in the family drawing, right? It's strange. I personally don't think that this game is going to focus on Mina like pretty much at all. I wouldn't be surprised if in this area, like what we see in the demo is all we actually see of Mina in the whole game. But perhaps in some future project I would like to know what becomes of her, because it feels like they're setting stuff up about that here.
Hey.
And the voice line there, apparently it's just a placeholder. It's not going to be what he actually sounds like, but it is great that Mimbron did the voice for this, and it's all just him saying, hey, in different ways.
Hey.
And so now we get confirmation that the assassination of King Regnir had nothing to do with Crocodile. Like, Revillon planned that out and had that executed. Get it executed. Anyway, she did all that without his knowledge. Like, that wasn't part of his plan. That was part of her plan. So I was kind of right when I said that, hey, this is probably the point where they start to diverge and don't work together anymore. Now they're actually sort of fighting against each other. And of course, we now know. Well, no, we don't know. But from the fact that they are now working separately, and that it wasn't part of Crocodile's plan, it has the implication that the Dread Hand that Ellie was using wasn't Oren's. It was probably just the other hand of Veritus's. So now there's kind of this race to gather the remaining pieces, right? Hey. So it's like, yeah, that mutual friend wasted no time filling that void. Again, obviously talking about Revillon, because it was originally stated in Prodigal that her plan was to kill the king and take his place. Hey. And for some reason that brings us to us. That brings us to Oren, which again, it sort of leads me to believe that, okay, well, now she's starting to enact her plans that are separate from mine. I had better step up and start taking action and maybe start gathering more pieces of Veritus, which is, I assume, why we're going to the castle in the first place, is because there must be a piece of Veritus in there. Otherwise, why are we going? Why would Crocodile specifically set up this expedition if it wasn't to get a piece of Veritus? Like, unless there's something else that he knows about that's in there, which I don't really know what it could be. Nothing's really been set up or implied about that, except for the thing that Enitha says right at the beginning of the demo, like, those who seek shadow will find it. Again, implying that there must be a piece of Veritus in there. So too those who seek light. And now, speaking of which, we'll talk to Lacrima. Maybe I could be wrong that she's going to be a traitor. Maybe it's a double bluff. Like, it seems very obvious that if there's going to be a traitor in the group, it's going to be Lacrima, because she's a follower of Rayam, which goes against the whole pantheon of Lyrian. She's an interesting character. It's interesting that she's gonna be there. And of course we have Illy, Crocodile's most trusted, I almost said servant then. She's not a servant. She's like more like his companion. Maybe, dude, what if Illy is Crocodile's daughter? Because he really trusts her. He like really trusts her. And now he's sending her on this mission. I don't think Crocodile comes on the mission. It would, depending on how powerful physically and magically Crocodile actually is, it maybe would make sense for him to come along, but I don't think he's actually coming along on the mission. He's just sending this expedition remotely. But Illy is a part of that expedition, and she's coming along, and so it's just interesting that she's always a part of his plans, that she's always a part of the bigger picture. But anyway, we go through here, and this is where we fight the boss, and if you don't know the easy way to do this, you just do this. It's pretty cool. It's pretty... hey, it's the first boss, and it's the demo boss. It's not meant to be super difficult. It's just a thing. Excuse me, Miner, I know you want me to chase you so you can fade away into nothing, but I just gotta go to this house real quick, because this house is very interesting. It's unfamiliar to Oren as well, importantly. What is this place? I've never been here. It feels warm and familiar. So it feels familiar, but he immediately knows that he's never been here. Theory upcoming. Whoever's taking care of this is doing a great job. What a happy flower. They need to rotate the pot, though. So someone who takes care of plants and stuff. Who knows? Who are these people? He doesn't recognize anyone. A lot of girls' clothing. A lot of toys. And a lot of books. So possibly someone who's got a lot of money. Or possibly just someone who had more money than him. Although his parents were like really well-known guides, so you'd think that they'd have a lot of money. Then again, guiding people, who knows if it's actually a paid job? It might be more of a charity and they just run off of donations. Never really thought about that before, actually. Yeah, maybe his family were quite poor. I never considered this. Maybe that deserves its own video. I'll think about it. I'll think about adding it to the list. The list is huge, by the way, in case you don't know. And then there's this one. She's hazy, but it's mom. Wait. You're not my mom. So he has this sort of inclination to see this hazy figure and think, oh, that's my mother. Wait a minute, no, it's not. So there's almost this sort of other perspective merging or clouding his own. And then this is just locked, and this isn't my bed. Classic Prodigal moment. This isn't my bed. And this person feels familiar, but it's a child, so it's either someone he knows as an adult but never knew them as a child, so that rules out Keaton, it rules out River, it rules out Carolyn, I think. It could be... who else? I don't know. Anyone else. It could be anyone else, apart from those, like, 4. Yes, or did I say 4? River, Oakley, not Oakley. River, Keaton, oh, Lynn. It can't be Lynn, because she's lived in Vance Point her entire life, so she would have known Oren. Or Carolyn, that's it. So those 4. Apart from those guys, could be anyone. So, not exactly a short list there. Plus, again, it's been 15 years. He could have met someone else. It could be Aura. It could be Aura. And then there's this person. Who is this? Why can I see her so clearly but not anyone else? Yeah, I have no idea who this is. Okay, theory time. But not my theory. Soda had a theory, and in fact, I need to tab out of the game real quick and look at my screenshot of it, because I don't remember exactly what it said, and I want to be accurate, and this is, again, why I usually script things. So, is that young girl Ellie? And Ellie is actually your sister, and that's why she too can use a dread hand. Now, I responded to this with, I know too much, sorry, which I'm also revealing to you now because obviously this is something that I would have a theory on if I didn't already know the correct answer. So I'm glad that Soda jumped in with a theory, because otherwise I would just have to be like, oh, who knows? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, and like really conspicuously move on without addressing it. But now, let's, let me get back to my spot and continue chasing you up through these hands until they stop and we're just left in the darkness and she fades away. And oh, what's this? It's Enetha's Blessing. Hello, Enetha. And we get Enetha's Blessing. Use left trigger on your controller or caps on your keyboard to toggle divine energy into your swings. So this is, again, where I think that if this is a dream or it's a sort of memory that you're forcibly trapped in by some kind of power in Veritus's castle, or maybe some kind of enemy they came across perhaps, this is where you will wake up when you do this and you're like, I have Enetha's power now. She's like, again, probably projecting herself into your mind and being like, hey, remember that time I gave you my blessing? Well, you can do this now as well. And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Swish! And he wakes up. Except, of course, in the demo, you don't wake up, you just go to this, like, office break room thing with a bunch of funny things in the interact. You can interact with all these things, and a lot of them are very funny, but I'm not going to do that. You can do that yourself if you get the demo. Demo's free! Just get the demo, it's free! You can experience it yourself and get a nice warm-up, a nice little yummy taste of the full game, which is coming out July. Do I have anything else to say? I don't know. See, another reason that I like to script these videos is because I often worry that I'm not going to mention things that I intend to mention, but just forget while I'm talking. And I worry that maybe I've done that. Then again, I have been recording for just over an hour, so I feel like maybe I've addressed everything. So yeah, there's been some interesting things that we can kind of glean or half glean from the demo here about what the full game might entail. So that's going to do it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this wasn't too terrible. I mean, I'm going to find out when I edit it, but you already know because you're in the future for me. Wow. Oh, that's how recording things works. This is why I need to be scripted, man. Anyway, thank you for watching. Goodbye.